If we're going to invoke Gandhi, let's at least get it right.
So, in that spirit, I would like to kind of clarify some things about Gandhi and how he worked that might be useful for us today. I'm Archie McGee. I'm also a scholar of nonviolent and violent resistance, and I'm still living in the United States. So, one of the things I think that this video gets right is talking about leverage. But it's missing the framework for how both nonviolence and violence actually operate. So Gene Sharp's theoretical framework for understanding how violence and nonviolence both work is basically kind of understanding that there are pillars that prop up all regimes. Doesn't matter whether they're democratic, authoritarian, a monarchy, a theocracy, a dictatorship, which makes the theory very parsimonious. And those 6 pillars are first authority. One is just the right to command and be heard. That's authority. Then you have the human power, really, the people who support the regime. And then the third pillar is the skills and knowledge of those humans who support the regime. Then we have sanctions or coercion or the ability to use force itself. Then you've got material resources, money, tanks, bombs, guns, tear gas, etc. Most importantly, though, are intangible factors which exist entirely in our minds. Could be things like religion, could be your ethnic group, could be culture, tradition, reason, whatever. When I wrote my thesis, though, I recoded that as cohesion. Because the one thing that they don't want is for people to leave, supporting the regime and come over to the opposition and then be attacking that regime. And the thing about these pillars, right, is that once you're stopping your support for the target regime, by default, you're operating against it. And so what Gandhi did was Gandhi was seeking what we call backfiring, which is when the target regime does something that's like so horrible that people, lose support for the target regime and they begin to, switch sides, essentially, allegiance shifting. That's what Gandhi was trying to do, right? He wasn't trying to change the British's mind, right? That's what I think that is implied in this video. That's not what he was trying to do. He was trying to, use leverage to apply it to the British so that they would have some heavy-handed response, which would then in turn cause people to shift their allegiance over to, the opposition and try to actively work towards getting rid of the British. It's why Jesus says at one point, that those who are not against us are for us, but he also says that those who are not for us are against us. It's kind of like that. And it's no surprise that for the first 200 years, Christians believe in nonviolent resistance. In fact, they are the first group of people on a massive scale to practice nonviolence. In their case, they thought it was morally superior, and that's why they chose it. But tactically, it is also very useful. And so Gandhi realized he was fighting an insurgency. He was just using nonviolence to do it. You could fight an insurgency with violence, though, too. And the pillars operate the exact same way. The problem with violence is, though, it's often harder to get loyalty shifts, right? Because people perceive violence a lot of times as not warranted. But that is why in Kenneth and Stephen's book, they say that nonviolence has a higher likelihood of basically working, is that it produces more loyalty shifts. And that's what you really need, is you need to get people to shift sides. Scholarship is divided over whether or not having a violent radical flank, as it's called, or a violent opposition alongside a nonviolent opposition works better or worse. My research suggests, though, that it does work better. The logic, though, is that, if people see that there is a violent resistance, then they are more likely to shift allegiance to the nonviolent side first. And then when they see that nonviolence isn't working or not getting the results they want, then they tend to, switch over to the violent side. But again, you have to get loyalty shifts, right? And that happens only in people's minds. That's why that's always where the real battle is fought. So none of it's really about violence or nonviolence. It's about understanding how power works. Once you understand how power works, then you'll know what to do. Then you can resist and abide, dudes.